Hello. See if you can hear me. See if I can hear myself. Know how to test it quickly now. I go to my YouTube app home screen. Oh, yes. I didn't even have to go to my YouTube app. I could hear myself on my laptop. Don't need the phone. All right, I am back for another live stream. An unannounced live stream. It is March 14th, Friday night, 7:35 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to give my own stream a like, help it in the algorithm, and probably because I'll like it. All right, so I realized recently that by just coming on randomly, I'm not going to have an audience already here because no one knows when I'm going live. So unless you're constantly monitoring my channel, you would not know that I came on live. So I'm always going to be here just by myself at the beginning, unless I start announcing these ahead of time. Oh, wow. I already see four people here. I guess some people found out fast. Hello. That was quick. I think that's the fastest I've ever gotten up to four viewers. So I guess anyway, in the future, if I want to get even more viewers quickly, I can announce it ahead of time so that people know when I'm going to be here. But that that means I would have to commit to a time. So far, what I've done is I've been streaming. This is my fifth live stream, and I've been streaming every other night. I've got John here. Hello, John. Say hi to you in the chat as well, even though you can hear me. I'll do a text as well. I guess you see my text before you hear me because there's a delay on the sound, like 20 seconds or something like that. So in the future, maybe I'll announce these, or if I decide I want to commit to a time, then I will put out an announcement about that. So more people are likely to show up soon. And um, maybe I'll do Facebook and X announcements also. So, uh, one piece of news is I created a thumbnail for the live show. And that reminds me of something I'm going to do right now. I want to see what see YouTube just creates a default thumbnail for each stream if I don't create one myself. So it just takes some stream shot, uh, or it takes the banner image that I have on my YouTube channel. There's a photo of Ayn Rand there, and I think it might use that. But at a certain point, it uses just a screenshot from the live stream. So let me see what it looks like now. Okay, yeah, now I see if I go to the my channel, the live tab, it just has a screenshot of me. So what I'm going to try to do is change that to the new screenshot that I just created. So, excuse me. So I don't know if it's going to let me change that during the live stream. I guess I'll find out in a second. Let's see. Got to go back into my YouTube analytics. Hit the live tab. Okay, I don't see. Oh, maybe I have to refresh the page. Let me try that. Okay, refreshed. Contents. Excuse me. And no, I don't see a thumbnail image right now. Maybe if I go to my, no, that's not going to work. Okay. Uh, okay, so maybe I'm going to have to change the thumbnail after the show because I don't see it. It doesn't look like it's going to let me do it during. So that's one change. Created a new thumbnail. Also, another change is I started talking sooner. Like the previous streams, I waited a few minutes. I waited for people to show up uh, to start talking, but this time I figured, why not just start talking at the beginning, even if no one has arrived yet? And then that way, if someone is watching the stream later, as soon as they start watching the video, they'll hear something at least. Um, and maybe I'll have preliminary things to say. I don't have a monologue scripted or even unscripted. Maybe in the future I'll do something like that, have like an opening monologue or points that I want to make. But for right now, I guess I did have some points I wanted to make, like telling you about the thumbnail. But that's just kind of little notes about the channel administrative stuff, as opposed to like something more heavy philosophy. Um, but I'm just starting out here. This is a pretty new thing, so we can go light. We don't have to do anything too heavy for starters. The more I do this, the heavier we can get. But this is still very early, kind of experimental. Let's see, we got 3 people now. Anyone else who's here, feel free to say hello. Oh, I just remembered. I haven't put the Zoom link. So as I say on the new thumbnail I created, I'm taking live calls. But you can't do that if you don't have a link. So I need to put the link in the chat. Let me do that. That's going to be the next thing. Okay. I'm going to Zoom, copy, invite link. All right. It's on the clipboard. Let's come back to the chat. And actually, what I want to, instead of just pasting the link, I want to say something before. I want to say, if you want to call, click this link. Then people know what the link is for. Okay, that would be new. I haven't done that before. Okay, I'm going to type that now. Um, to call, come on Zoom with me, click this link, paste. All right, let's try that. Okay, there we go. There's the link. So if anyone wants to call, now you know how to get there. I'm going to click on it myself, see what happens. Maybe it's just going to take me to the Zoom window that I'm already broadcasting from. Let me try it. Click. Launch meeting. Oh, I see. So it took me to my web browser and it gives me an option to open Zoom, although it's already open. I wonder what happens if I hit open Zoom since it's already open. Maybe it's going to open a second window. Now it just takes me back to the original Zoom. Okay. All right. So next thing I need to do is resize this. Maybe, I wonder if I should screen share. Maybe that would be good. So you have a little more to go with my voice. You see what's going on. Uh, okay. Um, well, maybe in a bit. I think for right now, I'm just going to I'm not going to screen share quite yet. Okay, let me pop out this live chat window so I can see everything where I want it to be. Okay, that's good. Picked up a subscriber or two since the last show. I don't know who they were, but I am at the highest level I've ever been at right now. 811 subscribers. Let's see if we get some more tonight. Maybe my new thumbnail will reel in some more people. Okay, I'm gonna close this backup Zoom window. All right, now I got everything where I want it to be. Feel free to let me know there in the chat if my volume is okay. It's loud enough, clear enough. Actually, I'm gonna try one thing. There's another mute button here on my mic. I'm gonna count to 10 and press this in the middle and see if that works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, why is this not? Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. Let me try that again. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. Okay. It's oh, I want to see if I can hear that on my phone. Let me oh, actually no. I'm gonna try another way. All right. I did the test I wanted. Let me pull up my oh, now I see the thumbnail for this stream has finally showed up on my phone. Not the new one I created, but just the default screenshot that YouTube pulls at random without my choice. Okay. Turn the volume down on my phone so I don't get an echo. All right. So anyone want to ask a question, say hello, make a comment, share some news into the week? Hopefully people had a good week. Uh, back to where's my zoom in? Here we go. Okay. I do have a guest who might show up tonight. I told him that I might be streaming tonight, though I didn't guarantee it. Maybe I should drop him a message on Facebook. And there's someone else who's probably going to be here on Tuesday of next week at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that is my first scheduled event for live streaming. So hopefully, having announced that, that will create some more attention. Oh, Mark, you're here. Hi again, Dan. The volume seems fine. How has your week been? Week's been all right. Uh, how about yours? Do you want to come on? You can click that link and come chat with me on Zoom if you'd like. So I was just saying that there's someone that I expect to be here 6 p.m. on Tuesday of next week, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So unless that gets canceled, um, you can plan for there to be a stream that day. Um, I'm glad the volume seems fine, Mark. I was okay. Yeah, sometimes I used to like shout into the mic, even though I didn't need to. I think I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna get in the habit of not doing that. Helps save my voice too if I'm not talking very loudly. Um, but maybe I should put out a call. It is Friday night, so people might be busy going out doing stuff. Um, so that might be part of the reason people aren't here. But maybe I should put out an announcement on Facebook and X anyway, just to see what happens. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Okay. All right. I'm going to open up Facebook. Maybe I can just copy and paste the last announcement I did a few days ago. Loading. Oh, I also want to. Oh, just got a Facebook message. Okay. I will reply to that later. Okay, here we go. I'm currently live streaming on YouTube and taking calls. If you want to join me, here's the link to the stream. I pinned the Zoom link in the live chat on YouTube. Okay. All that is reusable except the link. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it into a new post. Okay. Copy the new link, the new URL, and just replace the old one. Okay. Post. Posting. All right. I have announced the stream on Facebook. And actually, I don't think I pinned it in the chat, although I need to do that. Let me pin that link. Okay, so I've just pinned the chat, the link to the Zoom room at the top, so people don't lose track. And let me now. I see there are new messages and a new person there. Islam Ali, hello. Okay, I'm going to read those messages in just a minute. First, I want to just announce on X the same announcement I just put on Facebook. Maybe that'll help get some more people. And maybe I should be screen sharing this. Um, Maybe I'll do that next time. I got to go in small steps here, one new thing at a time. Okay. Oh, actually, I can. Okay, that's the link. Now I just need the text. Copy, paste. Okay. Paragraph break. Okay. Take calls if you want to join me. Here's the link. Okay. Post. It is now posted on X as well. I'm curious if any of you who are watching now heard about my stream. Well, I guess you probably got here before I put it either of these posts, but I guess in the future or later in this live stream, if anyone came here as a result of seeing those posts on Facebook or X, I would be interested to know. I will confirm they had a good effect, or the intended effect at least. And also, I'm interested in hearing how all of you heard about my channel. You can let me know in the chat. Okay, I'm almost back to the chat to see any new messages. Okay, here we go. Here's another message from, oh, I see Islam Ali said you found it on your YouTube homepage. Okay. New Intellectuals Community says saw it on X. Oh, nice. Just now, you mean? The announcement I just put out a minute ago. Um, cool. Yeah, let me know if that's the case. I wonder why you saw it on your homepage, Islam Ali. Is that because you watch other similar contents, like other people who are interested in Ayn Rand? I wonder why it appeared on your homepage, in your feed, I guess that's what you mean. Oh, New Intellectual says yes. Great. I'm glad you saw it just now. Very, very cool. It had its effect. Okay, let me go back up here. Actually, I'm going to read the short messages first, and then I see there's a longer one from Mark Thomas, because maybe I can go through the short ones quickly. Mark says objectivists need to be for reason-based laws. Oh, I guess that's a continuation of your longer comment. Okay, let me just skip that for a second. New person Ali joined, says Mark. Everyone is probably partying in advance of St. Patrick's Day. Is that Monday? Yeah, I guess that's Monday. Um, maybe, yeah, pre-St. Patrick's Day party. Um, oh, and Islam says, yeah, and I think it's because I'm subscribed to you. Okay, nice. Appreciate that, Islam, being a subscriber. And anyone else out there who hasn't yet subscribed, I invite you to do so. Help me get up to 1,000 subscribers. Currently at 811. Once I hit 1,000, I can apply to have my channel monetized by YouTube. Well, plus, besides hitting 1,000, I also have to get 4,000 hours of watch time within the last 12 months. But if I hit those two things, then I can monetize my channel, or at least apply to have it monetized. Can I join and have a conversation with you? Maybe a live together? Yes. If you want to right now, just hit that link and I can let you on. But let me, feel free to hit the link now, but I just want to read Mark's longer comment right now before I get into a new conversation. Oh, also, I invite people to hit the like button if you want to help this in the algorithm and to show your support, or if you actually like it, that'll help out as well. Any engagement is good. All right, so Mark says, not yet. Oh, I guess that's an answer to, do you want to come on to have a conversation now? So he says, not yet. Too many people around now. Oh, okay, where you are, I guess. Yeah, I understand. Week has been busy, although thankfully productive. Good. Saddened by news of massacre in the Middle East. Wanted to ask on prohibition on man-made law against. Okay. I hadn't heard about the massacre in the Middle East. I haven't been in touch with the news recently. Part of the reason I don't follow the news too closely, or at least I used to not follow the news closely, is because of news like this. It would just put me in a bad mood and make me feel depressed. I don't want to, just randomly be hearing that people got massacred. Now, if I'm a professional commentator on the news, then, you have to keep up with everything. Right now, I'm not, I don't really, I'm not committed to being a professional news commentator, so I don't feel like I have to know everything about what's going on. Um, I might be doing more of that in the future. I've just started recently following current events more. But right now, sometimes a few days will go by and I haven't watched any news or heard about any news. Sometimes the way I hear about the news is by listening to the Euron Brook show. He's an objectivist podcaster like I am, but he's much larger. He has almost 40,000 subscribers now, and I think he has a great show. It's the one I might listen to. I probably listen to more of his show than any other show. His show and the Ayn Rand Institute's podcast are the two that I listen to the most. But Euron puts out more content because he does almost a daily show. I mean, it's not a very super regular schedule because he's often traveling and he can't do it every day. But I think on average, he's doing multiple shows a week and sometimes like three or four, maybe five shows a week. Sometimes he even does more than one show in one day. He has like a morning show and an evening show, and these are sometimes they go on for like hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. So he puts out a lot of content, and I don't watch all of it just because I don't have time, but I think it's good. And sometimes that's how I keep up with the news is through listening to the Euron Brook show. And that way I also get to hear an objectivist's commentary on the news, and I find that valuable as well. Um, but I didn't hear about this massacre. I guess maybe I'll look into it after this stream. And so you end that comment. I see you're in the waiting room, by the way. I assume that's New Intellectuals Community. Um, that you have a different name on in the waiting room. I'll get to you in just a minute. I just want to catch up here on the chat. So Mark ends that comment by saying he wanted to ask on prohibition on man-made law against. I'm not sure what you mean by that, um, but that's something you can tell me later, either in the chat or you can DM me or when you come on here, you can just explain what you mean whenever it's a good time for you. All right, let me quickly go through any new chats that came in. Okay, yeah, New Intellectuals Community says he joined on Zoom. Islam Ali says, I feel the same way following the news. The irrationality of the world makes me grim and upset. But to what extent does shutting off the news from my mind make me divorced from reality? Um, I think it depends on, I don't think you're divorced from reality, at least, I mean, there's degrees here. And it's not going to be the same for everyone as to whether it matters. Like if you're a professional news commentator, then you need to follow the news. But if it's not your job, you're just going about your life. Maybe you're in some unrelated line of work. You're a dentist, um, or you sell shoes, or you drive for Uber. Then it's less important to know what's going on in the news. I mean, it has some effect on you. Like if you're a dentist, maybe there's some healthcare law now. In maybe there's been some amendment passed to Obamacare, which now mandates dental coverage, and that's going to affect your business. So there might be things in the news that do affect you, but it's not going to be to the same degree as someone who's a professional news commentator. But I think the most important thing is to make the most out of your own life and do well in your own world, your own line of work, whatever that is. And depending on what it is, or just, being a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, um, there's a lot of options in life as to how you go about it. And um, I guess there's some events that are just so hugely important, like 9/11, right? Or the financial crisis, which is just massively affecting so many people, everybody, you can't escape it. That's some things you need to know something about, but there's just a vast amount of variation and how much it is necessary to stay up with the news. But I think lots of people, maybe the vast majority, could do very well for themselves, and maybe it's best for most people if they only consume a little bit of news and focus on just making their own life as good as possible. Okay, we got a few more here, and I don't want to keep the person waiting forever in the waiting room. um, uh, Islam says, don't I have Islam Ali is the full name. So for anyone who's just listening to this, I'm using it as a first name here. So Islam says, don't I have an obligation to understand the world around me? Um, and then Mark says, yeah, don't stress yourself on it. Do what is best for your health and rational well-being. Yeah, I agree with that. Islam again says, so follow the news only to the extent that it serves my rational self-interest. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to be obvious how much that is, and maybe it will change over time, but it's just something to think about. Is this some value to me? Is it helping my life go better or not? But I would just say be intentional about it. Think about it, and just you can monitor it. Like ask yourself, don't just do it like out of routine or as a habit. I guess sometimes if a habit is working well for you, fine, but just stay tuned. Like, is this just putting me in a bad mood and it's not really helping? Well, then maybe you should question whether you should consume as much news as you are. Um, if it is helpful for you, maybe it leads to fun conversations with friends or family members. Maybe that's a reason to consume some more if you really enjoy that. So I would just say think about it. And yeah, whatever's in your rational self-interest, and that's going to vary from person to person. Okay, last comment, and then I'm caught up. Um, and Mark Thomas says he meant Islamic/Abrahamic prohibitions on man-made law, using your own mind versus the objectivist epistemology and the deduction that just laws must be based on reason as opposed to not. Okay, that sounds pretty intense there. I'm going to have to read that again later to wrap my mind around it. Or maybe it's something we can just talk about next time if you come on the live stream next time. But I am going to go to the Zoom call now, since this person has been patiently waiting. And I might have had more to say on the chats if there weren't someone in the waiting room on Zoom. But since there is someone in the waiting room, I think I'm going to give priority to the calls. And then if there's time after this, I'm not sure how long this call will be, but then I can engage more with the chat. All right. So let me admit this person. All right. Just clicked on admit. And all right, I see a screenshot. And I guess people on YouTube will be seeing that in about 10, 20 seconds from when I'm saying this. I guess my voice is synced up at the same time. Oh, I can see on my phone when you're going to see it.
Hi there, Dan. I'm here.
Oh, hello. Hi, I can hear you
Yes.
now.
Nice
Welcome.
to meet you. Thank you. Thanks for accepting my request. Yeah. Nice to see
You're
you.
welcome. I see your name
So,
there. Is that so you were the one who was typing under New Intellectuals Community, right?
yes, that's my YouTube channel name. It's Ayn Rand inspired, yes, by her book For the New Intellectual. So, yeah, I'm kind of trying to make a community of objectivists around me, you know. Her ideas are very appealing. So that's why I changed also the name of my YouTube channel, etc. But okay, as a host, tell me what shall we do now? Free conversation, or do you like to ask questions, or how does this go?
This is very new, so I don't have a strict routine for when I bring on guests. It is flexible in terms of the type of conversations we have. So I'm happy to just do a little get to know you kind of conversations.
Hmm.
Also, I'm open to doing debates.
Okay.
Um, I'm open to just taking questions. So right now, I just leave it wide open. And if there's any particular direction that you're interested in going with the conversation,
Hmm.
feel free to suggest it. And I always have veto power. So, but feel free at least to propose any sort of conversation you want.
Yeah, I think we could get to know each other because I don't know you well. I think I just searched the term objectivist on X, and I followed lots of profiles based on the search. So I read a little bit about you. I don't remember now, maybe on your YouTube channel just before joining in. Yeah. So maybe we could, yeah, introduce each other and answer this question: how we learned about objectivism and why is it appealing to us? I'd like to also hear your, answer to this question. Is that okay?
Sure. You want me to go first, or okay. Um, yeah, so I guess a lot of people who are watching my channel will already be familiar with me, but for anyone who's pretty new to my
Hmm.
channel,
Hmm.
I discovered Objectivism 28 years ago. So I first read Ayn Rand in 1997, right after I finished high school, that summer in between high school and university.
Hmm.
And I was blown away by it. I thought it was amazing, and I've loved the philosophy ever since. I eventually went on to graduate school, got a PhD in philosophy, and
Hmm.
most people who do that do it with the intention of being a professor in a university. And for a while, that's what I was thinking I would do. But at a certain point during grad school, I thought um, something else would be more appealing to me. And
Hmm.
the idea of starting a YouTube channel was one option that came to mind. Actually, I was inspired partly by the work of Alex Epstein. I don't know if you're familiar with Alex, but
No.
he used to work at the Ayn Rand Institute, and he developed a specialty in the area of energy. So
Hmm.
he's one of the most well-known commenters out there these days on energy issues, things having to do with the environment or climate. And he brings to that topic what he's learned from objectivism. I think a lot of the framing, the philosophical framework, like egoism, um, like how does that apply to issues like climate change
Hmm.
or how we should deal with the environment? What kind of policies are good to promote? And he developed a real expertise in that area, and he's done very well for himself. He grew a large audience on social media. I think he has over 200,000 Twitter or X followers now. He's written a best-selling book,
Hmm.
and but anyways, I saw what he had been doing, and it was inspiring to me. I thought, well, if I could do something like that, that would
Hmm.
be a lot of fun. So maybe I'll give that a shot. So right after I finished grad school, which was about 5.5 years ago, I started my YouTube channel. I guess there was a little bit of overlap. Right as I was finishing grad school, I started my YouTube channel. And then ever since then, I've just been slowly growing my audience. It hasn't been like a exponential growth, but it's varied over the time as to how much time I put into it. Like to some extent, it grows. What you put into it is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
Um, And some people they're putting out videos every day. Some people do it weekly. Some people do it monthly. I'm closer to the monthly. Although lately,
Hmm.
since I've been live streaming, it's been much more often, and maybe that'll help it grow faster. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something I want to find out. But anyways, that's a little about my history. I don't want to go too long. I want to give you a chance to learn about you. So,
Hmm. All right. Thank you. So I was born and grew up in the Republic of Armenia, far away from the US. Since
how do you
it's the
pronounce your name, by the way?
Yeah, it's Sevak. Sevak. We
Sevak.
pronounce it
Okay.
that way. Yeah. So yeah, and I moved into the US a few months ago, like 3 months ago. Now I am in Los Angeles and planning to stay. And I discovered Objectivism probably around 12 years ago, probably. I heard Ayn Rand's name during a training on liberty. It was an international training in my country, and the presenter spoke of Hayek, Ayn Rand, and some other names and philosophies relevant to liberty and free market capitalism. But then recently, in 2018, actually, we had a big shift in my country, Armenia. There was a little revolution. We had Republicans. We have them in Armenia as well. And they are very similar to your Republicans, like conservative, far right, homophobic, etc. And we managed to make the prime minister in Armenia. Prime minister has the real power, so we made him resign through protests in a peaceful way. And there was this question around, like, okay, what do we do with the country? Because for 25-ish years, the Republican Party and another conservative and nationalist party were ruling, and there was a lot of corruption. There was this nationalist narrative that we're the best, we're the oldest, we are right, you're wrong, etc., etc. So I'm still interested in politics, philosophy, and I first started an initiative which I called hedonistic hyphen Stoic party. I was, offering this idea to people in my country. Okay, guys, let's create something which respects the freedom of the individual, which acknowledges the right of the individual to be happy instead of suffering, instead of altruism, And I didn't know about objectivism back then. So I took some ideas from hedonism, like pleasure, and it's fine to, go after happiness and pleasure, but also some stoicism in order not to kind of drown in the world of pleasure. Then I discovered Ayn Rand. I think it was through YouTube. I listened to her bestseller, Atlas Shrugged, first. And I was like, oh, so someone already did more than just taking some concepts from here and there. Yes, a bit of hedonism, like happiness and pleasure. Yeah, and a bit of stoicism, like kind of reason and some values. And since then, I started, exploring objectivism more. I listened to her audiobooks, but I think 3 to 4 years. I know her around that much. I actually translated the anthem into my language through a series of streams on YouTube. And I also renamed that political initiative into Objectivist Party. I tried to create a political party in my country. Sadly, it was not appealing to people, and I'm also not there anymore. But I'm still interested, So yeah, I think. Oh, and I'm a private tutor. I teach languages: English, French, beginner Hebrew, philosophy, and chess. So that's basically what I do. And even today, objectivism is very, very appealing to me. Based on the role of the individual, reason, and free market capitalism. Also the aesthetics of objectivism. It's very interesting. So yeah, we did this, and maybe we could talk a little about the current situation in the US. I'd like to hear your comments, like what's happening politically in the US and around the globe, what Trump does, your thoughts on this, and how maybe objectivism and education could change things for the better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's a lot there. And thanks for that intro. That was interesting. You're from Armenia. You said you moved here 3 months ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's very recent. I mean, I
yeah,
guess that's a pretty big change for you.
yeah, it is.
I've never been to Armenia. I would be interested to go there. Actually, I did go to Turkey once. I think that's the
Oh,
closest I ever got.
yeah.
I took a trip to it was I did three countries on that trip. It was Italy, Greece, and Turkey.
Hmm.
And it wasn't much of Turkey. It was just Istanbul.
Yeah.
So I went to well, I guess it's not the capital, right? Because Ankara is the capital, right?
Yes, yes, you're right. But still
Okay.
pretty beautiful.
But
Big. Yeah.
it's the most maybe the most famous city, Istanbul, used
Hmm.
formerly known as Constantinople, and I guess before that it was known as Byzantium
Hmm.
back in the late Roman Empire days. But yeah, that's the closest I've been to Armenia,
Hmm.
and I'd like to see more of that part of the world. Whatever I can see without worrying about my safety. Actually, I was a little worried about my safety when I did this trip. This was way
Hmm.
back in 2005. So it was after 9/11,
Oh,
and I didn't know much at the time about like how safe is it to visit a Muslim country, and exactly which country it is. That maybe don't go to Iran or
yeah,
Iraq, but maybe Turkey is okay. It seemed like Turkey was okay based on the little I
yeah.
knew and the little research I did at the time, and I made it back. So how it is today, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
anyways, interesting to get your story,
Mhm.
or some of it. As for like U.S. politics, you mentioned Trump. That was one thing. So I'm very opposed to Trump. I think he's not a good sign for the country that he has so much support. For one thing, just one example, he tried to steal an election, and of course, many people will deny that he tried to steal an election and say, he was the rightful winner. But
Yeah,
based on
you're
the reading
speaking of
I've
the
done,
previous one, yes, which he didn't acknowledge the results of.
yeah, in 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the one he lost to Joe Biden, I think he actually lost. And I've done some reading on that, and it seems like there's not a good case to, like, he doesn't have a valid basis for claiming he won. And then there was the January 6th events following the election, and he failed to call that off until hours after it had started. So there was not a peaceful transfer of power, and there was also like the Black Lives Matter protests earlier before the election in 2020. So lots of violence. So I think there are many problems, and Trump is one of them, which is not a good sign for the country. So I talked a little about Trump in a previous live stream. Actually, it's even in the title. I think it's my two live streams ago. So I see a little more there, but I'm quite anti-Trump. I don't like the Democrats either. Um, uh, I think it's when it comes to the general election, it's basically a choice of lesser of evils. Who is the lesser of evil? That's how I see it. Um, and I think Harris might have been the lesser of evil in this last election. Although I didn't vote for her. I didn't vote for either one of them. Um, I think they're both very bad, but I think Trump is probably worse given things like January 6th and his election denialism. At least Kamala peacefully conceded, so she has that going for her. Um, so I think it's there's a lot of reason to be concerned and worried about the future um, in the U.S. and I'm hoping there's not like a civil war if the courts try to strike down some legislation or executive order that Trump wants passed and he doesn't agree to follow it, what's going to happen then? Is he going to try to run for a third term? Um, which I think is now unconstitutional. But there's already been murmurings, I think, from some quarters of him doing that or being interested in doing that.
I
So,
think at least one Republican congressman suggested, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, someone from his team said he likes the idea. They'd like to change the constitution and Trump should be reelected for the third term. I think the idea, is being kind of discussed openly.
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was thinking in my mind, like, judges, they don't have term limits, they're appointed for life. And also congressmen, I don't think there's any limit on how many times they can be elected, like to the House of Representatives or to the Senate. So there's not really a fundamental difference. Like if the Constitution were set up so that the president could also be reelected indefinitely, I don't think that's really the fundamental. I don't. It's just that someone like Trump could actually win so much support. I think he's rather brutish, thuggish, and that he could be president of the U.S., which was founded on individual rights, which I don't think he respects, and that he could have so much support is worrying.
Also, you're saying that it's not the fundamental issue if someone becomes a president for life. But, it makes me think of this, I don't know, shall I call it an axiom or this idea that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Also, there's another saying, I think it's Frank Herbert, the author of the Dune series. In one of his books, he says, it's not that power corrupts, it's that power attracts the corruptible. So if, someone like Putin or Lukashenko of Belarus or maybe Trump of US, etc., takes power, they want to keep it and it's never enough. So, and maybe, sometimes a person might be not that thirsty, but when you hear, all the time that you're good, you're the best president, maybe something changes in your mind, So I don't know if it's a good idea, to have someone with a lot of power running for a long time. Even Napoleon, who did lots of good stuff, yeah, he introduced very humanistic laws. He challenged anti-Semitism. He centralized I think he introduced the metric system throughout Europe, etc., etc. But first he was a consul, and there were three of them. Then he made himself the only one. Then he proclaimed himself the emperor, etc. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Let me just before I go on, let me just mention to the chat that the the Zoom is open to anyone who wants to come on. So if you're interested in the Zoom, even though I have Sevak on right now, feel free to click the link, and I think that will put you in the waiting room of Zoom. And that will let me know there's another person who wants to come on. So don't feel like you have to wait for me to finish. There really is no official finish time here with a particular caller. So I'll see if I have a queue of people that's building up on Zoom, then I'll shift. So just feel free to call in whenever, and if I see someone else pop into the Zoom waiting room, I'll take your call. But yeah, so going back to the idea of when I said there's like I don't think it's the fundamental issue.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking more like term limits. Like it, it strikes me, I don't think it like prove this, but it strikes me that there's something wrong with someone being president for life. But if he's reelected like every 4 years, that seems less, it strikes me as being less concerning than
Mm.
if someone is just appointed once and then forever after until he dies, he's president.
Ah,
But if he's
okay,
duly reelected, like every 2 years or every 4 years,
I see.
so he's still accountable to the electorate, I'm more
Okay.
comfortable with that. But then I wonder about like, well, why am I comfortable with it in the case of Supreme Court justices? Or should
Mhm.
I be comfortable with it? Like I mean, it's been that way my entire life. The Supreme Court justices are appointed for life, and until they decide
Mhm.
to retire or die, they can hold that office. Like, should I be as concerned about that as I am about the president being in a position for life? Like, why should I have the same attitude towards both? If not, why? I'm not sure. That just occurred to me now as something to think
Mhm.
about.
That's an interesting one. I think one important, if we choose a system of standards, yes, how do we judge around this issue? I think it's the amount of power probably could be one metric. And even as a judge, yes, you get a lot of power and you get to decide what's right, what's wrong, what should be done. Uh, and if we take this idea as a thesis that power corrupts, or power may make you think in a different way, yeah, when you hold onto something for a long time, you may maybe think of yourself as irreplaceable, very wise, smarter than others, just like Trump, speaking all of those subjects, I know it best. There is no one who knows about this better than me. Yeah, we hear that from him all the time. So
Yeah.
maybe from that perspective, it might be reasonable to make the change, also in case of judges. So, that's just an idea. Yeah.
I guess one of the arguments against having term limits for judges is that
Mm-hmm.
then I guess they're somehow less independent. Like if I guess if they feel beholden to um, a constituency, although I guess
Mm-hmm.
they're appointed by the president, so they're not elected. So maybe they feel less beholden than politicians in the other branches of government.
Okay.
But I was thinking if they know their future is not tied to being elected, then maybe they won't be subject to pressure group warfare. They won't
Mm.
feel like they're in order to keep their job, they have to rule a certain way, even though
Mm-hmm.
they actually think it's not the most just way.
Yeah.
Um, So maybe the dynamics are different if you're a judge, just given the nature of that job. I'm not sure if the same kind of considerations would apply to the president.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
it's a
I see.
different kind of power. He's the executive. Um, so yeah, maybe it's dangerous in one case, but not the other. Um,
Mm.
I don't
Okay.
know if there's any Federalist papers on this discussing it, or maybe there's a literature on this if anyone wants to look into it. Oh, I see that Matt T has entered the waiting room. So there's another person who wants to come on Zoom.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take that call, Savak.
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
on,
Yes.
and
Thank you.
it was good getting to know you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So
Maybe two more topics you could discuss also with the other guests. I would love to hear, your ideas on this. Education, especially objectivist education, and politics. Like, were there any efforts to create an objectivist political party in the US or not, and why? So, yeah, thank you and see you next time. Have a good one.
okay, thanks for coming
Bye.
on. Bye bye.
Thank you.
All right, there goes Savak, who goes by New Intellectuals Community in the live chats. And I'll get to you in just a minute or two, Matt. While I haven't forgotten yet, I want to say at least a word about the things that Sevak just asked about. So education and uh, what was an objectivist party. There was a party created by objectivists called the American Capitalist Party. Now, I don't know how active it is or if it's actually objectivist, because there's a question of, are they being true to the objectivist philosophy? Maybe they are, maybe they're, but I haven't followed it closely enough. But I know some people who they have at least have been affiliated with objectivism. I don't know if they still are. Maybe some are, some aren't. Started this party I think it's called the American Capitalist Party, which aims to be, or at least um, used to aim to be, I don't know if it still does, to be like an objectivist style party, political party. And I don't know if it's getting any traction or if they intend to, um, if it's just to raise publicity for certain ideas, even if they don't think they can realistically field the candidates. I don't know. But anyways, that's the only party I know of. There might have been a objectivist who have run for office, but like running as Republicans or independents, um, or libertarians maybe. But I don't. This is the only party that I have heard about being established by objectivists. Uh, as to your question about education and objectivism, so there was a course called the Philosophy of Education, which Leonard Peikoff, who was Ayn Rand's top student for many years, he gave a course on the philosophy of education, and I'm not sure if that's available on the Ayn Rand Institute website. It might be one of their websites, like the Ayn Rand campus websites. But in any case, Dr. Peikoff applies objectivist theory to the field of education, and I think he gave a great lecture course on that. Now, since then, decades later, or across the decades, some objectivists have started schools, um, and uh, to mention one well-known one, the Van Dam Academy was started. This is I guess it starts um, with, I don't know if they take infants, but preschool of some sort, and up through eighth grade, I believe. And Lisa Van Dam is the leader over there. She started a school back in, I think it might have been around 2000 is when she opened her school, sometime around there. But prior to that, I think she had done private tutoring or homeschooling with some students for many years. Maybe, I guess she started sometime in the 90s. But then she actually opened a school, I think around 2000. There have been other schools opened by objectivists or objectivist related people. One is called Higher Ground, or I don't know if that's the name. That might just be the name of an umbrella organization, which includes as one of its subdivisions what's called Guidepost Montessori. Montessori is someone who Ayn Rand thought, Maria Montessori is someone Ayn Rand thought very highly of when it came to her educational philosophy. She was a pioneer in that field. And this relates mostly to the younger children, like up through elementary school, I think, or maybe up to middle school. And I think she might have had ideas going to higher ages, but from what I know, the objectivists who know much more about it than I do say that her theory applies best, or she has the best ideas when it comes to the younger children, like up through elementary school. And once you get beyond that stage, maybe to the high school level, um, her ideas don't work quite as well, or they need to be adapted in some way. But in any case, she's done great work at the younger ages, and objectivists have opened schools. There's this Higher Ground organization, and with their Montessori schools, and you can Google them and find out a lot more, I'm sure, uh, online. All right, let me get to Mark's call, who's been patiently waiting. I'm going to admit Mark. Okay. Here's Mark's avatar. And see, he's muted. I don't know if you can unmute yourself or you need me to ask you to unmute. There's a button I have that says ask to unmute. So
No,
looks
that's
like, oh,
fine. But thanks, Dan. Yeah, I'm just
oh, there you go.
playing with some settings. For me, sometimes the camera is not, but for me, I think that'll be to my point, just kind of self-esteem as possible. But yeah, thanks for having me on the show. How are you doing?
Sure thing. Doing all right. How about yourself?
Um, doing all well as well. For me, I'm kind of taking kind of Friday night off. Weekend will be a bit busier than I've anticipated. And for me, I may have to like have some like late night errands I may need to head out to do before the end of the day. But I wanted to kind of reach out and like clarify a little on my question from earlier on like just the ethos of like the objectivist epistemology and how that translates to kind of real world ethics and like obligations as rational human beings, as opposed to those that are having to rely on things such as tradition or religion or other superstitious things. And with regards to the former reference to like religious law versus law based on reason, or particular prohibition on man-made law, that actually comes from um, like the Abrahamic tradition, as I'd described further in the chat, but also particular with I believe Islam, where that's actually a core tenet of their belief in Notheus, that the God has allegedly designated um, itself as the principle by which people must decide good and evil, and to the point of humans making humans making governments that aren't based on that is something that's like a theomachy. I'm mixed with that's theomachy, like war against God, from the Greek, but something that's not allowed, and something that apparently had with some um, let's say prominent sects in that religion, there's it's something, that kind of theology, philosophy, that kind of motivates them to violence in ways that a lot of mainstream politicians sweep under the rug. That it's like that, and obviously for us, it's like it's my apologies for me. I'm just collecting my nerves a bit somewhat, but
Oh, no, no
um,
problem. No problem.
people don't
You're
realize
you're
the
saying
kind of
that
philosophical, yeah, the philosophical
you're
stakes at
saying that
hand.
Islam is, or are you saying the religion of Islam is promoting uh, war against,
No,
or
no,
you
no.
use this
Well,
term?
that's one example. I mean, you could conclude that, but it's. I'm talking more of like kind of theological ideal of like the human right to reason, and that humans, what to make of the proposition that humans don't have the right to their own, like, to use their own rational faculties to deduce reality, compared to the objectivist perspective, where not only do we have the rights essentially, but is obligatory on us to use these rights to come to not only rational understanding of the world, but to make rational social, economic, and legal arrangements based on that. So it's like
Okay,
basically
so
objectivist epistemology and ethics from there versus the religious epistemologies, or in some case political epistemologies that forbid us from using reason, or that may punish the use of reason as a principle.
so what to make of it?
Yes. From the
I
objectivist
mean,
perspective, from exclusively.
the first thing that comes to my mind is it's wrong. The religious view that says don't use your own minds to figure out how to navigate the world and how to deal with it is wrong, and the view is right. I guess there's a lot more that could be said, but I'm wondering if there's some other particular angle you're interested in when you say like, what do you make of it? Like if that question, like, what do you make of it, just means like, how do you evaluate it? I would just say
Yeah,
it's
not just
bad. It's
evaluate,
wrong.
but like how to I don't know how kitschy the phrase to translate that into kind of real world ethics of like kind of how society should be run, but or how one, I guess we start from the individual. And our epistemology starts with this: how should one conduct oneself, knowing that reason is the proper kind of guidestone how one should conduct oneself, even in spite of like society or legal system or others that believe opposite, that believe in anti-reason kind of ways of life, be it religious or criminal or otherwise, or
So like
states, of course.
how does
Yeah,
someone who embraces reason,
yeah,
how should such a person deal with the fact that there are people out there who are
not
anti-reason
yes,
and th okay.
yeah, even if they're
I'm getting a
family
little more of
members, otherwise, yeah,
a grip on the question. Well, I think it's going to depend a lot on the particulars. So that's a very broad sort of scenario. There could be people who don't embrace reason by being religious, or who are generally rational, but in a particular case, they don't go by reason, like they're just dishonest, and that's something objectivists themselves can do, right? Just knowing that something like honesty is a virtue doesn't mean guarantee you're always going to be honest. It's an issue of free will. Um, so there's systematically irrational people. Uh, um, Maybe like religious fanatics would be such people, or um, maybe some of Trump's followers, or Trump himself, the people who are consistent. Well, I mean, no one can be 100% irrational, or I think you would die. You need to use reason to some extent to navigate the world and figure out how to get food in your mouth. But there are people who are there's great differences in degree and in kind, and in terms of like how rational people are. So there's no, I guess, there's no short general formula as to how to deal with them, but just like take a particular case and try to assess what to do in that particular case. Like, I'm going to deal differently with Trump than I am with maybe uh, someone who goes to church once a week, um, but doesn't take religion too seriously. So let me throw it back to you, because I'm not, I can only give
sure.
very general, or it seems like a very general sort of scenario. And all I can say right now is it just depends on the particulars as to how you deal with them. Sometimes you don't deal with them at all. Like you might just choose to boycott someone and have nothing to do with them personally. But if it's like a family member who you can't avoid, um, and you're a child and you can't move out of the house until you're 18, then that's gonna uh, have challenges of its own. If you're an adult who you can live on your own, then you might have more freedom or more ability to avoid irrational people. You have more resources at your disposal. But if you're a young person and you're going to school with an irrational teacher, and there's bullies at school, and the administration doesn't crack down on the bullies, it can be very difficult. So I think it's going to be highly contextual as to like, how do you deal with irrational people in the world? There's so many different scenarios. Um,
Well,
But
such is life.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but that makes sense as an answer. Thanks, Dan. So you'd
Sure
want
thing.
to ask me for like more clarification on the question, or perhaps because for me, you were about to expound a little more, but I kind of jumped to answer right
Yeah,
away.
I would just I would want more details. Like, I don't know if you have a particular situation in mind in your own life or if you were just asking in general, but like if I were talking to you like privately, I think what I would want to do, the direction I would want to take the conversation next is to say like, well, can you give me a particular example? Like,
Mhm.
how does this come up in your own life? And then I think I would have more to say, more particular, like advice for that scenario.
Hmm.
And I'm saying you don't have to say anything right now.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, I would just want to be more concrete about it and less abstract by getting into some more specific examples of exactly what kind of irrationality it is, what your situation in life is, and then I would have more to say as to what would be an appropriate way to deal with it.
Well, that does make sense. That's a proper framing, I guess. And thanks. So, like in my case, I think I was asking a bit in a bit in generalities, but I guess more towards, um, as I said, not just ethics, but like dealing with, um, and you explained dealing with real world people. Um, hmm. I guess what if how might that look in the sphere of like activism, of like kind of um, doing working in the world to draw more attention to objectivist philosophy and towards freer society, freer markets, as um, objectivist organizations like ARI and myriad others do, but as do some um, other pro-liberty activists, such as or genuinely pro-liberty activists. 'Cause I know they're like objectivism has been a bit of a smaller movement compared to, let's say, the libertarians, which most mainstream people are a little aware of, even if they don't understand the philosophy at all. They're still like, um, and that kind of goes to the point of like kind of dealing with irrational people, because in the kind of the mainstream culture right now, there's still in my view, very much irrational stigma against Rand and her ideas as um, uh, being based in selfishness, and this being, and then others who are moral compromisers in their own way, um, projecting their lack of understanding onto the objectivist movement as a whole. Even if we could like lay this out and refute this, it would refute that. Um, and I know, like for me recently, I had the fortune after me, I've been studying. I tend to study objectivism for more than 5 years, and had the fortune of being able to attend OCON last summer. It was quite an experience, but I had to keep it short due to work obligations. And amidst like all like as you mentioned, Trump, but also countless other irrational threats around the world and kind of a lack of literacy, it seems that it would take a lot to kind of teach the society as a whole how to like how to be rational. And it also seems that there are many people in the world that really don't care to do so, as long as they can take find ways to like keep oppressing others or robbing others or using the state as a tool to rob others, as which goes against the NAP, which is also something that most non-objectivists and non-libertarians care about at all. But long story short, what are some good like venues for, I guess, promoting rationality and promoting reason through activism? And what are some ways that perhaps existing organizations might be, or new organizations, as I've laid on my own, could be used, or like Sevak's organization, like doing his own circle in Armenian cases, which I would be very interested in connecting with.
Yeah, well, he has, I guess he said he had a YouTube channel and he's on X. I'd like to find that out, I want to take a look at that myself. But maybe you can get in touch with him and share some ideas. But as for the like how to grow reason in the culture, I mean that's another huge topic. And one way is to start a YouTube channel like this and have discussions like this. So we're part of it right now. There's people who know you, people who know me, and maybe you'll share this on your social media, or maybe someone who knows you will share this. And sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen. But if you just speak the truth, um, and do it publicly, I think good things will often happen. And it takes time, but just speaking out in favor of the truth and the good is one thing you do. That's which Ayn Rand discusses in her article, What Can One Do? I remember one line from that is her answer, speak, uh, or something close to that. I forget the exact words she uses, but just speak up. Now, that again is contextual, given your situation in life. Like if maybe you work at some job where if you speak out, then you could be punished some way or penalized or not promoted. If you work at some business and maybe the CEO gets wind of your objectivist ideas and he's a leftist or something, or he's a Trumpist, and he decides, I'm not gonna promote you, or I'm gonna fire you if I find out about your ideas. Or if you're a student in school, um, you might not want to speak up in class because you think the professor will be biased against you and mark your papers down or something if you come out of the closet with your objectivist or pro-liberty ideas. Um, so how you speak out, whether you speak out, is going to depend on your particular life and what your goals are. And um, yeah, so it's very contextual. I do think there are good organizations out there doing great work. Um, I think the Ayn Rand Institute does a lot of great work. Very good podcasts. You're on Brook. So those are two sources I would recommend. I'm not very familiar with the liberty movement beyond the objectivist part of that. I know there are a lot of libertarian organizations, but Ayn Rand made some effort to distance herself from them because she thought that a lot of them were distorting her philosophy or plagiarizing
Yeah.
her ideas. You mentioned the NAP, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the non-aggression principle, which is not a phrase Ayn Rand herself used, but um, you could also call it the non-initiation of force principle. That's a little closer to language that she used, just the idea that you shouldn't initiate physical force against someone. If you do, you're violating
Indeed.
their rights. This is the fundamental principle of her philosophy, which a lot of libertarians it basically make an axiom out of. Although in Ayn Rand's view, you need an entire philosophy underneath that to really understand and apply it properly. You need a metaphysics and epistemology and an ethics. It's not true that something like Christianity or Buddhism is compatible with the politics of objectivism, the non-initiation force principle. Like if you have a mystical epistemology, you're religious, and your holy book says to go kill infidels, well, then I guess you got to do that. You can't really respect the non-initiation of force principle. So you really need a full philosophy um, to to uphold consistently the non-initiation of force principle. And there might be some in the libertarian movement who agree to that, but I think there are also many um, who don't see the need, and I think are even hostile to the idea that you need more of a philosophy. And also some of them, I think many of them promote anarchism and call themselves anarcho-capitalists, which I think is a contradiction in terms. I don't think you can have both anarchy and capitalism. That's another discussion which I won't get into because I want to wrap this up soon. I see we're almost at 9 o'clock
At the
p.m.
hour.
So yeah, I'll just be on here for
Pacific
a few
time.
more minutes. But yeah, there might be some libertarian organizations that are better, more worth dealing with, and could be helpful allies. And then others who are probably better to stay away from. I won't try to sort those out right now. Maybe we can talk about that in another call. But I think I'm going to leave it there right now for that last question. Any last thing you want to say here, Mark, before I wrap up the show and let you go? I see you're
Nothing in particular
muted,
for
right?
me. I was
Oh,
sharing like there's something you mentioned, your subscriber drive, and it let me know another kind of liberty-oriented host that's looking for guests for her show, and so I had shared her address in the chat, and we'll kind of see if you might be interested. So it's generally on like Mondays or Tuesdays every week, but they was looking to kind of um, share guests with things to um, good viewpoints to share, and in particular um, reason-based viewpoints. And I've just shared some details on, or it actually clipped off, but I'll communicate with you further on like just about that opportunity, because it might be a good way to um, meet that goal. But other than that, thanks for having me. Look forward to rejoining in the future.
sure thing, Mark. I appreciate the connection there. Yeah, I see you put it in the Zoom chat. For anyone who didn't see it, he mentioned in the chat he was talking about the chat on Zoom, which only I can see, not the YouTube chat. So yeah, thanks for letting me know about that, and it does sound interesting. So appreciate that lead, and thanks again for coming on. All right, have a good night, Mark. Okay, so. Good. We had two calls. That's a record for my show. I've had callers before, but this is the first time I had two calls in one night. Great. And maybe we'll do that again. We'll have multiple callers in future shows, hopefully. Maybe get up to three callers. Okay, so it is now 9:01 Pacific time. I am going to wrap this up. Thanks everyone for coming by. And I will see you on another live stream. I mentioned I do have one scheduled live stream for Tuesday next week at 6 p.m. So that's going to be, what day is that? 15, 16, 17, 18th. That's going to be March 18th, Tuesday, March 18th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'm scheduled to have a guest. So assuming that's not canceled and it goes ahead, that will be my first scheduled live stream if you want to show up for that. But of course, it will be recorded if you can't catch it live. I might do one before then. Maybe I'll do one in a couple days on Sunday. I'm not sure yet. But in any case, there will probably be at least one by Tuesday of next week. Okay, thanks for coming by. If you haven't already liked or subscribed, please consider doing that. Sharing um, would be appreciated. All right. Have a good night, everyone, and thanks again for watching.